Today we're talking about one day versus day one. What's the difference? When should you use each phrase? Let's get started. The first thing you should know is that these are two completely different phrases with two completely different meanings. So when we're talking about one day versus day one, make sure you understand what they mean. Let's start with the phrase one day. This is something you may have heard before. It can be used in two ways. First, it can be an adverb meaning in the future. We'll talk about this one first. This is the most common way to use this phrase. For example, one day I will become fluent in French, or one day I will visit all of the countries in Europe. In both of these examples, one day means in the future, right? It's talking about some point in the future when something will happen. Now, the other way to use the phrase one day is to ask someone for their opinion about a particular thing. For example, what do you think will happen one day? And then you would follow up with a question. Do you think people will fly cars instead of drive them? Now, if you ask this question to someone who's a little older than you, you're asking them for their opinion about the future. Do they think flying cars will become a reality? That's what you're asking? In both cases, one day is an adverb. It's describing how to become fluent in French or visit all of the countries in Europe or fly cars or drive cars is happening. The verb describes the action or the state of being. In this case, becoming fluent, visiting, or flying or driving is the action. And the adverb tells us more about that action by answering the question when. Now, let's talk about the phrase day one. Day one is not an adverb. It's a noun phrase. In fact, it's a noun clause, which is a fancy way to say it. It's a noun that has a dependent clause inside of it. If we take this phrase apart, day is singular, talking about just one day, and one is simply the number. So together they form the noun phrase day one. But remember, this phrase is actually a noun clause, because it has a dependent verb in the present tense. The dependent verb is always part of a noun clause. Day is followed by the verb is, so now we have the noun phrase day one is, and this is followed by the definition of day one. Day one is the first day. So what does this mean? Well, this is a great example of a phrase where the literal meaning is different from the figurative meaning. Let me explain. If you buy a new car, then the first day that you own the car is day one. So that's the literal meaning of the phrase. If you start a new job, then your first day at that job is also day one. Or if you begin taking a course, then the first day of that course is again day one. Do you see what's happening here? Whenever you start something new, the very first day of that thing is day one. Sometimes we use the phrase day one figuratively to mean the beginning of something without saying exactly which day it is. For example, my daughter was born on day one of the pandemic, or I was out of work for 6 months after my company downsized, but I was back on day one after that. In both of these examples, we don't literally mean that the person was born on January 1st of 2020, or that the person went back to work on the first day after 6 months. No, we're using day one figuratively to mean the beginning. There's also another really interesting use of the phrase day one. No, and this is to refer to the first day that you experience something. For example, it was love at first sight. The minute I met her, it was day one for me, or he's been working nonstop for 3 years. He hasn't had a vacation. But the good news is that he's already booked his trip for day one. In both of these examples, day one refers to the first time that the speaker experienced something, either falling in love with someone or experiencing a vacation. And when you look at the sentence structure, day one is functioning like a noun in both of these examples. It was love at first sight. The minute I met her, it was day one. So day one is the subject of the verb was, or in the second example, the good news is that he's already booked his trip for day one. In this sentence, day one is the object of the preposition for. Okay, so now that you know the difference between one day and day one, let me give you a few tips to help you choose between the two. First, if you're asking someone for their opinion, if you want to ask someone for their opinion about something in the future, then use the adverb one day. For example, one day I will become fluent in French. If you're asking for someone's opinion, then use the adverb one day. Second, if you're referring to the beginning of something, then you can use either the phrase one day or day one. For example, one day he will learn to ride a bike, or on day one of his training, he was told to buy a new helmet. Both of these sentences mean basically the same thing. The first day of his training, the very first day, both of these are correct. But there is a third option, and that is to use the phrase, the first day. This is also correct. On the first day of his training, he was told to buy a new helmet. So you have 3 different options here. You can use one day, or day 1, or the first day. All of these are correct. Third, if you want to refer to the first time you experienced something, then use day 1. For example, the first time I came to live in Japan, it was love at first sight. The minute I arrived, it was day 1. Now I have a quick question for you. Do you prefer using the phrase one day or day 1? Leave a comment below with the answer. If you want to become fluent in English faster, you need to start thinking in English. Learn how to do that by watching this video next. I'll see you there.